Hi guys, it's me, and I really quickly, I always say quickly, and it's never quick, let's face it. I wanted to make a video today because, and this is like super impromptu. May, one of my readers and friends, viewers, Facebook likers, she posted a very good question on my Facebook fan page, asking me how I handle secrets or kind of the trusting, relationship between myself and my children. And it's really funny that she should ask that question because, as you guys know, currently we are in kind of we're revisiting our parenting visitation, or I should say Ava's dad's parenting visitation time right now. And so, you know, there's a huge amount of like trust between me and Ava and her dad, those types of issues in regards to like keeping secrets and tattling and all of that. So we are facing stuff like that. But I think the question was kind of meant more for the safety of the child. You know, I don't know exactly if she meant it in this way, but for me, this is kind of the way I'm taking it because of my previous history. As you guys know, or maybe don't know, I was sexually abused as a child. I was so young that I don't remember it happening, and it was by a trusted family member. And so I was young enough to not probably understand that I should have told my parents. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember that part of my life, or either that or I'm subconsciously blocking it out. But I've already talked about this in a previous video. But the point is that because of that experience for me, I went throughout, like, oh my gosh, I went years without telling my parents, even after I found out and all of that. And again, I've talked about that too. And I don't know. The whole secrets and parents and trusting and what you tell your kids that you need to know and what you tell them you don't need to know. I think that I don't know. This is really hard to talk about, but I basically have told Ava from the very beginning, since she could even understand me, that there is no secret too small or too big that she shouldn't feel comfortable telling me. I know some people are probably like, well, kids should have their privacy and this and that, but I think that if you do that with your kid, at least, again, in my experience, I mean, I got pregnant very young. I became sexually active very young without telling my parents. I felt like I couldn't talk to my mom about it. You know, I think if you tell your kids, like, oh, there are some things you don't have to tell me, there's like that's a very blurred line for them. They think, okay, so what do you have, you have to be very specific. And instead of being very specific, I would rather just tell my kids, you should just tell me everything, big or small, because, if it's something that is not that big of a deal, then it shouldn't matter if you tell me or not. Or if it's something that is a big deal, then you should tell me, if that makes sense. For little kids especially, I think it's really hard to differentiate, like, okay, I shouldn't tell mommy this because she said I don't have to tell her everything, that kind of thing. So when Ava started understanding me and we started, because obviously she's a very beautiful little girl, I was very blunt with her. I'm going to be just as blunt with my other kids. I've already started being this blunt with Wyatt. I always said stuff like, you need to tell me if strangers do this or do that, or, if something bad happens. I do tell her, like I said, it is very sketchy because she does go to her dad's house. I tell her, if you're ever in danger or you don't feel comfortable or something doesn't seem right, then yes, you should tell me, but you shouldn't tell me your dad's personal business, if that makes sense, because she does it all the time. And I know that she tells my personal business and what John and I do here all the time and what I say and what I do, but you know what? That's fine with me, because if I'm ashamed of what I'm saying or doing, then I shouldn't be doing it, is kind of my mindset. So I've kind of tried to live my life the last, I would say, half a decade, in a way that I shouldn't have to hide anything, because I shouldn't be ashamed of what I'm doing, because if I'm ashamed of it, then again, I shouldn't be doing it. So I've tried to kind of live a clean life and an open, honest life. As you guys know on YouTube, I'm pretty darn open, and you guys probably know everything about me at this point. So for me, with Ava, I've just always been like, just don't keep secrets. Secrets, are very dangerous. You don't want to do that. I told her, in regards to like her private areas. I know this is really uncomfortable for some people, but it's a very really it's a reality. It was a very big reality for me. I always told her, you know, if somebody touches your private parts, and I've told her this again since she was very young, you need to tell me. Bottom line, period. You need to tell me, you know. And for me, in my mind, it's just kind of like, I would rather her tell me every single time a doctor or her dad or my mom or her grandma or aunts and uncles changing her diaper or helping her in the bathroom touched her there, than her not tell me and then her not understand the, you know, what is going on, kind of, if that makes sense. Because if you are doing something wrong, then you should be told on. And if you're not doing something wrong, then you shouldn't care if you're being told on, kind of is my mindset with that too. Kind of like the same with me at my home. She can go ahead and say whatever she wants and tell her dad whatever she wants that we do here, because again, if I'm doing something wrong, then I should be told on. If I'm doing something right, then I shouldn't care. So for me, with my past of getting pregnant really young, being sexually abused as a child, and not being able to talk to my parents about that until I was in my mid-20s, I would rather have my kids have an open door policy with me and feel like they should have to tell me everything. Not have to, but I encourage them to tell me everything, whether it's big or small or whatever. And sometimes that means listening to ridiculous stories forever about some girl who hit her or pulled her hair or was mean to her or said that she was a pony when really she wanted to be a princess. I don't know. Even if it means listening to garbage stories like that, you know, as long as she knows that she can tell me anything and that she should tell me everything and anything, then I know that there's not something more bigger that could be hidden or not told because she doesn't know if she should tell me, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? To be blunt, I'm just very blunt with my kids. I know that I don't scare them, but I also want them to have a healthy fear of reality, because times are not like they used to be. People aren't as nice. People aren't as trustworthy. You can't leave your front door unlocked anymore. I don't let my kids leave my sight when we're out in public, you know. So I don't scare my kids to the point where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be kidnapped, or oh my gosh, my teacher's going to hurt me, or something like that. You know, I don't do that. But I do make them aware that not everybody is a good person. There are certain areas where you're not supposed to be touched, and if you are, you should tell me regardless of who's doing it or under what context, and that, you know, you can't leave my side because there are people out there who, you know, stranger danger. So, like I said, when it comes to secrets, I would rather my kids tell me even the smallest, dumbest secret, because if you start, like I said, if you start saying, oh, there's certain things you don't have to tell me, you can keep to yourself, then again, for little kids, they might not know how to differentiate between the big things and the small things. So, yeah, so that is how I kind of broach the whole trust line or relationship with my kids, and how I kind of go about secrets in our house. It's very difficult because like right now Ava's at her dad's house, and I know she says stuff about me, and she says stuff about him, and I just kind of ignore it. And it's hard knowing that my kids are telling everybody everything about me, but you know what? I tell everybody about me. You know, you guys are all hearing it right now. So once again, like, as long as you're living a clean life and you're living in a way that you're not ashamed of or that you don't think is wrong, then you shouldn't care about people telling your secrets. And when it comes to little kids, if there's something you don't want them to tell somebody, then you shouldn't be telling them, period. But yeah, I figure when Ava is old enough to start wanting to keep her own secrets, you know, whether it be when she's like 15 or 16, she'll know kind of right from wrong in terms of like people hurting her or danger. But as of right now, for little kids, I just basically err on the side of caution and say, no matter how big or small, you need to tell me, or you should tell me, or you should feel comfortable telling me everything that happens in your day-to-day, you know, even if somebody says, please don't tell your mommy, you know, that kind of thing. So I think if you approach it in a really calm and just kind of, like, I just bring it up randomly, like when I'm, when Ava was older, when I was changing her diaper, I would always just remind her, who's supposed to be changing your diaper here or touching you here or whatever. And I just say it in kind of a aloof way so she doesn't like get freaked out, because just like me being sexually abused, I feel like the more I talk about it and the more just the more I talk about it, the less less hard it gets to talk about it, and B, the more it normalizes talking about it, because I think it's such a taboo to talk about being abused as a child or being abused or raped or anything. And I think that's what scares people from talking about it. And I think that knowledge is power, and knowing that these things can happen is like, it makes it easier to prevent or handle, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm getting so scattered. But yeah, so there is my explanation that makes absolutely no sense. And I realize I think I'm just talking gibberish. But if you understood that, then great. But yeah, long story short, we don't have any secrets in our house. We don't have anything to hide. So there's nothing that doesn't really matter. But yeah, with my kids, I'm just trying to be. I feel like if I'm open with them, they'll be open with me. And if I'm laid back about it, then they'll come to me. And that's what I want until they can decide for themselves as adults or, older teenagers whether or not they should be telling me everything. But I hope that they tell me everything. Because like I said, I held a lot in growing up. My parents didn't know a lot about me, and things could have turned out a lot different for me had I known that I should have told them or could come to them. So, yeah. That's that. Sorry, May, if that was a confusing question or answer for you, but thanks for the question. I think it's a really good question because, I don't know, it's kind of like the whole, like, don't do drugs and don't smoke type of thing. Like, how they have those weird, eerie commercials where, like, the grandpa, the ghost, like, goes through the kid's body, or, I don't know, stupid stuff like that. Or, like, there's a little baby in a high chair and the dad's talking about smoking and they say it's never too early to start talking about them about that, blah, blah, blah. I think it's kind of, this is like, I think this falls under that same line. Like, I don't think there's any time that's too soon to start talking about your kids, about who you can trust and, and that they can trust you. So, anyways, I'll talk to you guys all later. Bye.